And so anyhow, told people in the live stream I was going to be going through and looking for my next candidate as far as going after MGTOW. And I was looking around yesterday, saw a couple possibilities, and then I ran into this. Okay, and I figured this is the direction I'll move next. Okay, for now, he gave me the reason to come his way, so that's the reason I came his way, because he actually gave me the reason. Done that unto himself. He's got nobody to blame but himself. Okay, that's right. And I like the name here. The name sort of suggests who he is. If you pay attention to the name and you pay attention to what I'm about to show you, that I'm going to do a reply to. Okay, a little bit of commentary to what he's saying, and I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, Turd Flinging Monkey. Okay, so he's named himself Turd Flinging Monkey. Okay, let's really think about that name. Turd as in shit, as in lies, as is in propaganda, as is in bullshit. Flinging, spreading to the public. That's right. Pushing propaganda, pushing bullshit. Okay? Monkey, as in a man. Men going their own way. Monk. And then we'll put E at the back, right? So do you follow what we have here? See, the name sort of says it all. The name really tells you more about this guy than most people are seeing, because most people ain't paying attention. Most people are thinking, oh, it's just a name. Well, I don't think so. I really don't. Okay, so now we're going to get to the reply. Okay, so here's the video he done. Okay, now we're going to let him fling his propaganda, his BS, his bullshit, because that's what he is. He's a turd. Okay, he's a monkey, a monk. Okay, man, flinging what? Bullshit onto the public, lies, propaganda. And he does a really good job of doing exactly that here. When I was on his page, and I started looking through the comments under this particular video, what did I find? I found, well, it was sort of like being in an apocalypse, a movie of The Walking Dead. The zombies. The dumb. Now, of course, that's not 100% across the board, but the majority of the commenters were zombies. Dead. Brain dead. To what's really going on around them in society. Completely asleep. Sleepwalkers. Okay, but we'll go on. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. And I'll pause it. Okay? And we'll go from there. But watch out.
There's been a lot of confusion about what MGTOW is and how it fits into the larger manosphere, red pill community, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, been a lot of confusion about what men going their own way is. Okay, now he's going to skew you. The concept of men going their own way was a great weapon that would have actually, if it was taken seriously, would have brought the genders back together again in time. But it's been skewed, twisted, manipulated, lied, destroyed. It went mainstream so they could destroy it because they needed to destroy it because it would have overturned years of programming, brainwashing for divide and conquer. But let's go on.
I see a lot of articles from people who simply don't know better, just regurgitating this talking point that MGTOW and incels and the alt-right, these are all synonyms. They just assume anyone who uses the term red.
Okay, now pay attention. Because the monk, okay, turds, flinging turds, that's what he's doing right now. He's flinging bullshit at you.
Red pill is automatically part of the same group. and anyone who doesn't like feminists are automatically part of the same group. And so I made this video to hopefully explain the main differences, very broad strokes. I'm not going to get into like fine detail, but just...
He's not going to get into fine detail because he can't get into fine detail because he's manipulating, he's twisting, he's lying, he's slinging bullshit at you.
in very broad strokes. What is MGTOW? How is it different from other red pill manosphere communities? So I broke down the different groups into three camps. We have female validation, social validation, and internal validation. So starting at the left, we have female validation, and two groups, technically three, fit into this category. There's pickup artists, known as PUAs, and there's incels, also sometimes known as true force loneliness.
Nope. See, now he's just slung a big turd at you. Okay? He's slinging bullshit at you. TFL has never been known as incels. Never. Not even from day one. I know. I'm the founder of the name. I'm the one that came up and gave everybody TFL, True Force Loneliness. I've explained what it was thousands of times. But see, monkeys like him, monks, liars, deceivers, frauds, fakes, they like to take what they hear and manipulate it and twist the words and turn it into their own want for their own agenda. And that's what he's doing here. So the name fits properly. He's a monk, a man, slinging turds out his mouth onto the public. And that's what you're hearing right now.
Or TFL. Although I think incel is because it's kind of been picked up by the media.
I think incel because it's been picked up by the media. No, that's so that they can push new laws, new bills, mental health bills onto the manosphere.
It's becoming the more predominant.
No, it's becoming the tool being used that will attack all forms, and be used to pass new bills, new fraudulent laws by criminals.
Term. But they both mean the same thing. Incel or involuntary...
They do not both mean the same thing. Listen to this. They never have meant the same thing. Now listen to him spill the bullshit out of his mouth.
Celibate means you can't get no pussy.
No, see, TFL has never been about getting pussy, getting laid. That has been explained thousands and thousands of times already. True TFLers are not about getting laid. Never have been about getting laid. They only wanted to get one female in their life. One. Companionship. Best friend. Partner. Mate for life. That's what TFL's always been about from day one. But see, he's not done his homework. And if he has done his homework and he's already aware of this, he's deliberately flipped it. You have to ask yourself, is this guy also a shill, an agent for the tool? For the tool? Okay? But he definitely flipped the definition or flipped what TFL was around to his own want. He flung a turd out his mouth.
Incel or involuntary celibate means you can't get no pussy. And it's outside of your control. You're not choosing to be alone. You are being forced to be alone. Hence, TF.
Being forced to be alone. See, you tell one little smegma of truth along with the bullshit that he's putting it into. It's like taking a little dinky speck of truth and shoving it into a turd. It's bullshit.
Fell or true forced loneliness. Involuntary, forced, you get the picture. Now, why am I putting pickup artists in the same category as incels and TFL? This is because they base their validation, their identity even.
No, now let's go with the truth here. See, this is where he's never, ever going to tell you the truth. Pickup artist industry, PUA. Okay, so let's just put alongside it. PUA, CIA, NSA, NRA. Do I need to go any further? Let's do that again. PUA, CIA. Now I'm going to stop right there. Problem, reaction, solution. The powers that be, through social engineering, create the problems we face in society and then give you phony solutions for them.
Through female validation. In incels and TFL, it's through their lack of female validation. Their identity as incels and as TFL is based entirely on their inability to get pussy.
No, it's based entirely on the social engineering of our society by the powers that be. The problem has been deliberately created. They already knew the outcome. They knew what the outcome would be through social engineering society. They knew that there was going to be lots and lots and lots of men that would no longer be able to get a female in their life, even if they'd done everything that society told them to. They knew this already. Social engineering, brainwashing, programming. Taking a poll and programming one gender to this and the other gender to that. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Problem, reaction, solution. It's always been that. But you don't hear him telling you about this part, do you? No, he's not about to tell you the truth. Because after all, he's a monkey. He's a monk. And he flings bullshit, turds, onto the public. His name spells it all right in your face. He told you who he was. He literally told you who he was before he done it, and then he done it to you. And you all fell for it, just like they always said you would.
That's who they are. They are a man who can't get laid. That is.
No, that's not who we are. That's not who TFL's ever been. That's the turd. That's who he is. A turd. A liar. A deceiver. Somebody who's not looked into nothing. Somebody, if he has looked into it, or if he's not an agent, does just completely dumb. But chances are he's making money doing this. Chances are he's allowed to do this and making the tool for doing so. And he's gladly collecting that tool to sling turds onto the public. To not tell truth, but to tell lies.
How they identify themselves. That is their identity. That is their validation.
See, and he thinks he could push their identity is onto them. He could just make up their identity, even if it ain't true, and say that's who they are and push it onto them. But I'll give you some real truth. His name tells who he is. He's a parasite. He's a turd. His identity is hidden from you. You don't know who he is. You don't see his face. You don't know his real name. You don't know anything about him. Only what he tells you. And because he slings BS from his mouth, you can't trust anything that comes out of his mouth. Because it's going to be another turd. More bullshit, more propaganda.
And a pickup artist, he defines his masculinity and his identity as his ability to get pussy. The more pussy he smashes, the more manly he is.
The more we break down the morals of society, the more we destroy the family unit, the more we divide the genders. Oh shit, he left that part out again, didn't he?
Masculine he is, the greater specimen of humanity he is. His identity, his affirmation, his value.
The more sexual diseases he is, the more diseases you can spread. That's right. The more destruction you can spread. That's what he's promoting right now. See, he's promoting exactly what the powers to be wanting to promote.
Validation as a man and as a human being is based on how many vaginas he's been inside.
Did you catch this? To be a man is based on how many vaginas you've been inside. That is not to be a man. That is to be demoralized. That is to have lots of sexual diseases and spread diseases, and that is to destroy. That is to break up, divide, and destroy. Problem, reaction, solution. Let's go on.
These are basically two sides, opposite sides of the same coin, and that coin is female validation. Now, I'm not the first one to talk about this.
Now, the coin is the tool. The tool. Social engineering, brainwashing, turds, slinging turds, lies, propaganda onto the public.
Marcus from the channel Groundwork for the Metaphysics of MGTOW did a very deep dive about pickup artists and how it's ultimately rooted in female validation. I'll go ahead and link to that video in the description if you want to check that out. He makes very good videos. He stopped making videos, he got busy with work, but I hope he comes back someday. The next group is social validation. Now, this is a very broad category. It basically includes any group who ultimately believes that the individual doesn't matter and that they must serve the interest of some larger group.
Right, this is social validation right now. This should be social engineering. The brainwashing of society done by the powers to be. Problem, reaction, solution, PUICIA. A true forced loneliness individual is not incel. Incel are guys who cry and whine because they can't put their dick in a hole. TFLers, real TFLers, true forced loneliness guys, are guys that only wanted one person in their life. Their best friend, their companion, their partner, to grow old and die with. It was never based on putting their dick in a hole. Never ever has been. Okay, but he slung turds out his mouth because that's who he is. That's what he does. Okay? And right here, he's even manipulating social engineering by telling you it's social validation. See, he was changing the wording up. He's flipping the wording.
However, there are three groups which fit into this model of social validation. And again, this is very broad. It's just people who believe men, especially, exist to serve something bigger. So we have traditionalists. These are basically people from a religious background. They're usually trying to promote Christianity or some sort of traditional Christian values. They're the ones out of all these groups who will ban things like porn and sex toys and so forth because a man must sacrifice. That is what men are for. That is their lot in life. That is the cards they were dealt by God. And so they must sacrifice.
And their gods are their powers to be. And the lower life scum like us, we must sacrifice. We must give up all of our freedoms. So just like with the red flag laws, where they're now taking guns away from people using mental health laws. Just like the fraudulent Elliot Rodgers shooting that never happened, that was done by a Hollywood actor who gave himself the name of Elliot Rodgers. That's right. Just like the fraudulent Canada Van Drive Me In. That's right, the run over people that never happened. That never happened. And we used an incel guy as the perpetrator. And Elliot Rodgers, a TFLer, as the perpetrator. So that we can pass new mental health laws attacking the manosphere. And he's here helping them. He's helping validate a lie. Propaganda. Turds out his mouth. To push laws by criminals onto the people, onto the manosphere.
Sacrifice themselves. The way they understand it is they sacrificed, their ancestors sacrificed, everyone within their group sacrificed, and by you not sacrificing, you're dishonoring their sacrifice. Therefore, they not only disagree with you, they hate you. Because the way they see it is you're benefiting from the sacrifice of others, and you're refusing to sacrifice yourself. You're basically...
See how he's skewing religion now? Even though religion's been used for division, what's he doing? He's carrying on the role of turning religion to division. He's telling you the Christians, they hate you. Do you see what I'm saying here? Yeah. He's spilling more division. He's doing exactly what the powers to be want.
A traitor to them. And it's ultimately based on a sunk cost fallacy. All these generations of men simply sacrificed themselves. But because they sacrificed themselves in order to honor their memory, in order to continue the cycle, everyone must continue to sacrifice themselves for no benefit, for no reason. And if we don't, we're dishonoring their memory and we're making their sacrifice meaningless.
See how he's decided for them? How he has made this? Do you see what he's saying here? You got to pay attention close to wording. For all those in the comment section that said this is a great video, for the sound asleep, I guess it would be. For the people that are ignorantly stupid and dumb, I guess it would be. For the people who really understand what's going on in this world, they understand this guy right here is most likely being paid. He told you who he was. He was a monk. I like to call him just a monkey, like he put down here, okay? A man. Okay? Slinging turds, bullshit, onto the public. That's why he calls himself Turd Flinging Monkey. See, he told you who he was.
Now, there's two ways to react to this. One of them is from a sunk cost fallacy, where you say, well, these people sacrificed for something, and I'm going to ensure it meant something. So I'm going to fight to make this thing happen so that their sacrifice meant something. Or maybe it's time to stop sacrificing for nothing, not trying to validate their sacrifice through more sacrifice. They simply want to perpetuate the cycle for social validation.
See, changing the wording. What he's really doing is called social engineering. He's helping the powers to be with social engineering, with brainwashing, with changing your opinion, changing your mind, giving you a phony belief system, which is brainwashing, social engineering. That's exactly what he's doing right here in this video. But he don't want you to know that, so he's going to change the wording up to validation. Because he don't want you to know what he's really doing.
Similarly, we have identitarians. Most notably, this includes the alt-right, but it really could include any identitarian group that wants to identify and form a group based on race, culture, political beliefs like communism or so forth, really anyone.
See, there we go. And he's not going to get too deep into that because he'd have to tell on himself to do so.
They believe that people should sacrifice themselves for the greater good of their group.
This is what it's always been throughout society. You all had to have daddy to hold your hand. All of you failed to grow up from the very beginning of time. Even now, you failed to grow up. You're falling down the rabbit hole, repeating history. That's what you're doing.
I talked about the matrix of tribal identity a long time ago. I'll link to those videos in the description. Essentially, these groups don't offer anything other than belonging to a group. Now, some people feel comfort in belonging to something bigger than them and believing in something bigger than them, and that's fine.
Right, that's fine. That's fine. That's called being a follower. It's called being a slave. That's called not having individual thinking skills. It's not called not having individuality. It's not being your own person. It's being somebody else's slave, to be controlled, to be used, to be spit out for their own gain, for their own selfishness and own gain.
Traditionalists mainly fight for religious ideals, whereas identitarians, they could be fighting for political ideals, racial ideals.
See, fighting, there's the key word. Divide. Keep us all fighting. Keep us divided.
Societal.
Don't let us ever really see what's going on so we don't stand together and fight for the same thing. Because the powers to be have no power if we stand up to them and say no.
Ideals, whatever group that identitarian faction believes in. But they're very similar in their tactics and in their motivation. And the third one is men's rights activists. Now, men's rights activists...
And that's actually not the third one. See how they're completely out of order? Let's go with the actual real order now. The real order would be social engineering, created Incel TFL, created the problem. They already knew that when they divided the genders, that the problem was going to destroy the genders, and that there would be major amounts of men who would not be able to get a female in their life. Then through social engineering, we programmed you all to think everything was about sex, about getting laid, about putting your dick in a hole, to demoralize, to destabilize society, and help destroy the family unit. Then when we knew these problems was going to come, we gave you CIA, PUA, problem, reaction, solution. Phony solution that was never meant to work because they knew it wouldn't work. Because how could it work? Because you wouldn't be looking for the root cause to the problem. You would be looking at symptoms, and you would have a phony cure like going to a snake saleswoman. That's what this was about. Then they gave you men's rights activists. That's right. That's the order these came in. Social engineering, pickup artist industry, and a men's rights activist group to send everybody down the rabbit hole and only talk about symptoms and never talk about root causes. And along through all that, this was unstoppable. This was going to be the outcome, the creation. This was a phony solution for the problem. A phony solution, snake oil. Okay? This was to keep you so you think somebody's speaking up on your behalf about the problem. That, by the way, has been hijacked by feminist women. It was never, ever about helping you, no more than this was. That's right. This was just to keep you distracted. Well, this continued to get worse.
Or MRAs, they're very similar to traditionalists, except instead of Christian values, they're trying to promote egalitarian values. So rather than trying to promote a certain religious doctrine or a certain holy book or a certain belief in this or that God, they just believe in the Enlightenment values of gender equality.
Catch this, the Enlightenment values. We're going into the day's talk, ain't we? Yeah. We're hearing everything that they talk about like in today's society, right? Through the social engineering, the brainwashing. See, this guy most likely, like I told you, is being paid to do what he's doing. He knows full well that he's lying to you. He told you who he was when he came on board. This name was not an accident. This name was no accident. This name was deliberate. It was to tell you who he was. He's a man slinging propaganda, bullshit, turds onto the public. Socially engineering you and helping to keep your minds destroyed so you never see through to the real problems. And he's telling you propaganda. He's putting what you are onto you. He's telling you what you are, even when he knows he's lying and you're not that. He's decided for you who you are. You have no say-so on who you are. You don't have the individual right to say who you are. He's going to tell you who you are. Social engineering, not validation.
They see that feminism has gone too far. Most of them generally support prior waves of feminism, the good waves of feminism that were supposedly fighting for equality because they believe in equality. Their religion, their identity.
If they believed in equality, you wouldn't have more laws for, you wouldn't have women having more rights than men do. You wouldn't have double standards, which is corruption. You would have true equality. It's never been about equality. It's always been about divide and destroy, divide and destroy. See how he's pushing the lie once again on you? Do you see how he's pushing the lie?
He is as an egalitarian. This is why a lot of people who say they're anti-feminists say, well, we're not so anti-feminist, we're just egalitarian. Now, I could have expanded this list by adding anti-feminist, egalitarian. They're all the same thing.
Yeah, he could have expanded his turds, his bullshit, his lies, to socially engineer, to program, to lie, to convince you of a lie, to turn a lie into truth in your head, to keep you blind and to keep you not seeing the real truth.
Rights activists, egalitarians, anti-feminists, they're all the same.
Let's skip ahead.
Which is egalitarianism. So again, the big thing about social validation is just people believing in something and sacrificing for something and fighting for something.
You see how he done that? So you got to pay attention to his words because he's very clever. The words he's using.
So again, the big thing about
is that to sell a lie onto you, turd flinging monkey, to sell propaganda onto you. He's talking really sophisticated to convince you of how intelligent he is, how smart he is, how correct he is, so that he can sell snake oil salesman, so he can sell the lie onto you.
Social validation is just people believing in something and sacrificing for something and fighting. MGTOW, which stands all by itself, which promotes internal validation.
No, see, this is what he's going to tell you MGTOW stands for. No, it doesn't. Do you see how mainstream media grabbed it? Do you see what he's doing here? This is social engineering. This is exactly what the powers to be had to do. MGTOW never stood for that. MGTOW stood for men going their own way, walking away from women, not giving the women the time of day. That's right, dividing the genders, completely walking away from the women. What would have been the outcome if we had actually walked away from the women for 5, 10, 15 years? Mass numbers of men had done that. You know what the outcome would have been? There'd have been a lot of angry women. There'd have been women now backing up and rethinking their own actions. And then there would have been an awakening to what was really going on in society, to all the male shaming on their television stuff they grew up watching. There would have been a big awakening to where the problem actually come from, the root cause. That would have brought the genders back together again. It scared the living hell out of the powers to be, because they knew it was the one tool that could have overturned years of social engineering. So what did we do here? We had to destroy the tool that could do that.
It's activists, anti-feminists, and egalitarians, it's egalitarianism. And then there's MGTOW, which stands all by itself, which promotes internal...
See, now listen to his wording. Once again, he's going to sling a big turd out of his mouth at you.
Validation. You don't need the approval of anyone. You don't need a group to validate you. You certainly don't need a woman to validate you. You can validate yourself. It's pretty beautiful when you think about it, and there may be other groups which also promote internal validation. I'm simply not aware of any. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? But really, that's what separates MGTOW from everyone else.
No. See how he's giving it a fancy name? They're convincing you that men going their own way stands for something totally different than what it says. That's what they want to convince you of. That is exactly what social engineering is. That is exactly what brainwashing is to take real truth and flip it, manipulate it, twist it. And that's exactly what this idiot's doing.
So when you lump MGTOW with pickup artists and incels, it doesn't make any coherent sense.
You see how you separated it from the real truth? Through the problem that was created, this was the tool that would have overturned all that social engineering. Do you see how I told you the mainstream media grabbed it? The social engineering was to destroy it. Do you see what he's doing here? He's trying to convince you. He's brainwashing you. He's socially engineering you to believe that men going their own way, created by Barbarossa, by the way, okay, says exactly what it is. It's men going their own way, walking away from the problem, from the opposite gender, from the programming, from the social engineering. Do you see what he's done here? He's given what's in your face and tells you what it is a whole new definition to which don't make any sense. What don't make any sense is this. Not this and this, but this and this. This is what don't make any sense. Internal validation and MGTOW. That's the part that makes absolutely no sense. Okay? Incel TFL and men going their own way does make sense. That makes perfect sense. Especially when you understand where problem, reaction, solution, social engineering, see, social valorization, see how he's using the wording, changing the wording up. Do you see the turds falling out of his mouth? Are you paying attention? This guy is a man, a monk, a man, slinging bullshit turds out his mouth onto you. And you're believing the crap that he's spilling out his mouth. And he's changed the definition completely to destroy the one thing that would have actually overturned the social engineering and would have brought the genders back together again. We couldn't have that. Now, what could we, powers to be? So now you know who Turd Flinging Monkey really is. He's a man. He's most likely military intelligence. Okay? He's most likely paid. Of course, these are all things he will never tell you. He will always deny. And he told you who he was. He's a man flinging bullshit, social engineering, programming, brainwashing onto you to convince you of a lie. And he just put it in your face. He told you fraudulent terms for TFL, who I am the creator of, not him, who all true TFLers know what they are, know what the true meaning are. He changed the meaning to their want, social engineering's want, programming. Okay? Right here. Men, spell it out, men, going their own way. He's even changing the meaning of that. It's called destroying. This is being used to pass new mental health laws onto the manosphere. And you men better look out, because that's what this is all about. And that's what this is being used for. With that being said, I'm out of here.